Indiana travels to Notre Dame on Friday, December the 20th, 8 o'clock on ABC to play in the first round of the college football playoff. I'm going to talk about this in just a moment, but first, welcome to the channel. I'm Brian. I'm glad you're here. I know I have all my Clemson stuff around me, but I talk about other college football teams. So if you like supporting independent channels, people with no strings attached, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. It is free. I do appreciate it. Notre Dame and Indiana are a little over 3 hours and 15 minutes from one another, maybe 3.5 hours if you drive a little slower or hit some traffic. But these two teams haven't played since, I think, 1991, and I don't believe they're losing any sleep over it. In fact, I went online to start to figure out why they haven't played, and I just figured out it wasn't worth my time. For one reason or another, they haven't lost any sleep trying to play the other for whatever reason. But they're playing now. Fate has brought both of these schools together in the college football playoff. Now, this is the tale of two different tales of coaches. You have a younger coach, Marcus Freeman. This is his first head coaching job. He was a defensive coordinator. A lot of people thought the world of him, and then boom, Brian Kelly leaves, goes to LSU. And Marcus Freeman is the head man. He's in his third season. Now, he's had some good moments, but he's had some head scratchers. On the other side, you have a guy who's been in college football for a while. And Cignetti delivered this year in a way that has never been delivered at Indiana, unless you're talking about basketball. But these two teams are meeting in South Bend, and Notre Dame is a 7.5-point favorite. That's right. At home, they're only a 7.5-point favorite, so we have to ask ourselves a little bit about both teams. I'm going to start with Indiana because, well, they're 11-1. They had a really good season, and I'm just going to blast through their schedule, and I want you to pay attention to this. They played Florida International, Western Illinois, UCLA, Charlotte, Maryland, Northwestern, Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State, Michigan, and then they played Ohio State. By far the best team they played all season. They lost 38-15. But all those games before that, they won. Then they play at Purdue, and they win 66-0. They're like, listen, we're not going to have anyone trashing us or taking away from the magical season that we've had. It's historic, and we're not going to let you ruin it. So they go out and they murder Purdue. But everybody is thinking about that Ohio State game. Now, if you want to be more of an optimist, you would step back and say, well, Indiana used to lose those games. Those teams that were not that good that they beat up on, yeah, they used to lose those games. And you're right, they did. So credit this team for doing what they've never done. Let's go to Notre Dame. Notre Dame is 11-1 as well. They started off by winning against Texas A&M, Mike Elko, his whole relationship to Notre Dame and so on. Coaching against his former quarterback at Duke. And Notre Dame wins this game, 23-13. And then the next week, I'm sorry, Irish fans, I have to bring it up. I'm not going to harp on it, but I have to bring it up. The second week of the season in South Bend, Riley Leonard and the boys, they lose to Northern Illinois. Now, did Northern Illinois do anything great? No, they were 7-5 and finished 6th in the MAC. After that, Notre Dame beat Purdue 66-7. They beat Miami. They beat Louisville, Stanford, Georgia Tech, Navy. They hammered Navy, by the way. Hammered them. Dominated Florida State. Everybody dominated Florida State. Virginia, they had a really good commanding win over Army. And Army's had a pretty good season. And then they finished off Southern Cal. So they have better wins under their belt than Indiana. But both teams are coming into this game, and you can't help but look at both of them and ask the question, will the moment be too big for both of these teams? Okay, Notre Dame fans, I know what you're about to say. Or ask, do you know who we are? Yeah, we know you're Notre Dame. I understand it, and I do respect it. But Tim Brown's not coming out there to play for you in this game. Rocket Ishmael's not coming out to play in this game. This is not the 1988 team or some of the other teams sprinkled throughout playing in this game. Notre Dame has to prove a little more in this game than just their Notre Dame. We know who you are. Indiana, on the other hand, Indiana, everyone is looking at your schedule, and I'm going to tell you exactly what they're saying. You played a bunch of bad teams, and yes, you made history. But at the end of the day, when you played someone who had a heartbeat, you got throttled. Oh, you beat Michigan. Well, let me see. They lost their head coach. A lot of the talent that they had that, won the national championship, that's gone. So, yeah, you beat Michigan by name, but you didn't beat the defending national champions as far as the actual players and the coach. Kudos to you for winning the game. Now, I know I seem brash right now. I seem a little rude, but hey, I'm honest with my team about their shortcomings. And if you're new to my channel, you need to go check out some of my videos where I talk about the team I've been pulling for since, well, I was born. I'm honest. Indiana has a lot to prove. Yes, you've had a great historical season, but you've got to win a big game. Let's go to some of the players on the team. Curtis Rourke. Curtis Rourke played for Ohio, did a great job, transferred in this year. What can you say about the guy other than, wow? He passed for 2,827 yards, 27 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. The running back, Justice Ellison, 148 carries for 811 yards, 10 touchdowns. You have Elijah Surratt, 890 yards and 8 touchdowns. These guys are moving the football. They're scoring a lot of points. They're not really laying a lot of eggs. If you flip over to the defensive side of the football, you have Aiden Fisher, the leading tackler on the team, 108 tackles, 1.5 sacks. You have Mikael, I believe that is, Kamara, 10 sacks on the season. You have Tyreek Tucker with 2.5 sacks on the season. Amari Farrell, 4 interceptions. You have D'Angelo Pons, 2 interceptions. Jalen Walker, who has 2 interceptions and also is the second leading tackler on the team. You have these guys who are coming out playing very, very well. And you swing back over to the offensive side of the football, you have guys like Omar Cooper Jr., 571 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns. You have Keyshawn Williams with 403 yards and 5 touchdowns. They have the talent, folks. They have the ability. Don't forget Tyson Lawton, 634 yards and 12 touchdowns. 12 touchdowns. So they're moving the ball. They're getting it into the end zone. We know about their explosiveness. We know what they can do. You can look at the scores of their games. You can see the points that they've put up. They definitely have the ability to just continue to pound it out. Let's go to the Notre Dame side of the football. Transfer, Riley Leonard. The guy is unbelievably talented. He's big, too. He's big. He's not teeny tiny. He can run and he can throw. He's like, 6'4", let me see his official. 6'4", 215, 220. He's passed for 2,092 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. At running back, you have Jeremiah Love, 134 carries, 949 yards, 15 touchdowns. Clemson transfer, Bo Collins is the leading wide receiver, 34 receptions, 427 yards with 2 touchdowns. If we go on down to take a look at the second leading rusher on the team, it's Riley Leonard, the quarterback, 721 yards on the ground with 14 rushing touchdowns. I mean, this guy can put on a clinic. Jadarian Prince is the third leading rusher with 651 rushing yards, 7 touchdowns. Staying on the offensive side of the ball right here, they spread the ball around to a lot of players. So you're not seeing just magnificent passing numbers, which they haven't thrown the ball for like 4,000 yards, but they do spread it around to Jaden Greathouse, Mitchell Evans, the incredible tight end, Jaden Harrison, of course, Jordan Faison, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Chris Mitchell. Go on down to the defense. You got Jack Kaiser, who's been there forever, the leading tackler on the team with 64 tackles and 1 sack. You have Drake Bowen, second leading tackler, 54 tackles with 1 sack. Go on down to the third leading tackler on the team, Xavier Watts. He's the safety. He has 50 tackles. But listen to this. He has 5 interceptions. Skipping on down, you have Riley Mills with 6.5 sacks. Donovan Hennish with 3.5 sacks on the season. You have Howard Cross III with 4 sacks on the season. These guys can get after it. And a lot of these names, especially if you kind of keep up with Notre Dame, you've heard these names. So let's talk about the keys to the game right now. The moment is big for both of these teams, but in everyone's eyes, Notre Dame's supposed to win this game. It's at home. They're the favorite by more than a touchdown at this moment, just a little over, but still a touchdown. So Vegas believes that Notre Dame at home versus Indiana, who's never been in this big of a game, they just believe Notre Dame is going to win the game. Plain and simple. Even when you say Indiana at Notre Dame, it's just like, yeah, Notre Dame. But Indiana, on the other hand, let's look at them. They don't even supposed to be probably playing in a bowl game right now. But Cignetti did what he did. He went to the portal. He brought in players, a lot of them from James Madison, his former job. And he got Rourke. And it's panned out. They go into this game and they will not be disrespected. They don't care who they're playing, especially if it's Notre Dame. But at the end of the day, I do believe that Riley Leonard and Marcus Freeman gets the job done. I believe it's a close game. Now, let me even before I say I believe they're going to win, and I do believe they're going to win, let me say, if Indiana wins this game, it will be seen as an upset, but it will not be a great upset. This will be an upset on paper or in name only, or maybe because it's at Notre Dame. But Indiana's played some pretty good football this year. It's historical again. But I believe Notre Dame takes care of business in this game, and they move forward to the college football playoffs second round. Folks, let me know what you think in the comment section. Who do you have in this game? If you don't mind sharing why, it's always good to hear your reasons of why you believe your team's going to win. I hope you will subscribe. Remember, it is free. I'm an independent. I do appreciate it. As always, take care of yourself and go Tigers.